Good morning. It's great to be here. Mike, thank you very much for that warm introduction. Kim and Bill, thank you for all your efforts here at Heritage. It's a pleasure to be here. All of us, I know, enjoyed the momentous occasion of seeing the President of the United States come to Capitol Hill. Always a treat for the nation, and really a lot of nice words and positive thoughts from the President about going forward and supposing and proposing the possibility we all work together, which I'm hopeful of. But in my book, actions speak louder than words. And we will have to, I think, see how it is that this President and his administration are going to carry itself in light of the current situation in this country and the election we've just been through. Last year, for the first time ever, as Mike just indicated, the United States fell from the ranks of the economically free countries of the world as measured by the Index of Economic Freedom. This year, our overall score fell again, in large measure because of the increase in government spending. This is a wake-up call for all of us in our country and for all of us in elected office. And restoring economic freedom and prosperity is a top priority for our new House Republican majority. Today, I don't hesitate to say that we have arrived at a critical moment in American history. We're a nation at a crossroads. A host of obstacles have been thrust upon us, calling into question our ability to carry out the mantle of global leadership in the 21st century. How we respond is the challenge of a generation. It truly will determine what kind of country we will be. America's always been the land of unparalleled achievement, where entrepreneurs and small businesses are the engine of the economy and, frankly, the envy of all nations. The eagerness on the part of the American people to work and to pursue their ideas, despite the risk they might fail, has spawned unprecedented economic growth from which we all benefit. The resulting prosperity and job creation have benefited us for sure in our country, but also has benefited the entire world. It defines who we are as a people. It represents also our best hope to the future. Last year, I received a note from a University of Michigan graduate who is living in Kalamazoo, Michigan, who is now, though, gone on to get his MBA at Stanford. Prior to starting business school, he had spent some time working in England. He was amazed how differently entrepreneurs are regarded abroad. He said, starting a business, even if you fail in the process, is a badge of honor for us here in the United States. But in Europe, entrepreneurship is frowned upon, and consequently, the best and the brightest are actually afraid to take a risk. He goes on to say in his letter that many of my European friends are very smart and educated. But when I ask them about their career path, no one ever mentions starting a business. They don't think any new big products or businesses will come from the UK in the next 50 years. That letter had a big impact on me, and it ended with a pointed request from this student. He said, please be careful that our government not do anything to discourage entrepreneurship and innovation in America. Now, we all know there's a lot being written today as some are actually asking whether the United States is really losing its competitive edge. And over the past year, when I've talked to entrepreneurs around the country, when I meet with people making decisions of where to allocate capital and whether to put money to work, they're actually questioning whether it's worth the risk for them to do so here in the U.S. Why is that? Because over the last several years, the U.S. marketplace has been increasingly defined by runaway debt, by ever-increasing growth-stifling regulations coming out of this town, and, frankly, an anti-competitive tax structure. The recent midterm election that we just experienced was about many things: health care, government spending, deficits, lackluster job growth. But above all, I'd argue that it was a repudiation of an agenda that responds to these problems by siphoning money away from the private sector and therefore reducing opportunity and freedom and concentrating the power and resources here in Washington. Now, for us conservatives, this election represented a golden opportunity to show America a better way forward. We've got a second chance to produce first-rate results by applying our common-sense conservative principles. When you redistribute wealth and impose stringent regulations, it comes at a direct cost to freedom and to economic opportunity. Right now, government is growing so large that it is crowding out the private sector. That's why our first priority in the majority is to arrest the ever-growing government spending and debt which results, and ensure that it is not higher taxes which we all must face. That's why we are intent on removing a dark cloud that has formed over our country and our economy, and we are committed to getting our country back on track towards the path of opportunity, responsibility, and success. In short time, it's my hope that this Congress, under a Republican majority, will become known as the Cut and Grow Congress. Cut spending and job-impeding regulation and grow private sector jobs in the economy. Now, this idea of cut and grow can be put into contrast perhaps with some of what the President said last night, and certainly what some in the White House have been talking about for the past several days. They envision that administration to be about cut and invest, that somehow we have to go about cutting spending so we can invest it from Washington somewhere else. Now, all of that gives most of us pause, because in using the word invest in this town through the prism of the federal government, to me, means more spending. So that's why each day our response in the new majority is to wake up and ask three questions. One, are our actions focusing on jobs in the economy? Two, are our actions focusing on cutting spending? And three, are our actions focusing on shrinking government and thereby protecting and expanding freedom? And if our actions do not fall within one of those three lanes, we must ask ourselves, why are we doing it? During the current fiscal year, as you know, we have pledged to return spending to FY 2008 levels or less. We've got many more miles to go, but in our first month, we've cut our own budgets by 5% in the House. We have renewed our moratorium on earmarks, eliminating billions of dollars in pork barrel favors that have always been used to buy members' votes on larger, more wasteful spending packages. We've implemented new House rules that make it easier for Congress to cut spending and grow the economy. For example, all mandatory spending increases must be offset by spending cuts elsewhere in the budget. No more new taxes. We've moved to repeal the health care bill because it threatens to bankrupt our country and serves as an impediment to job creation. We've already instructed our committees to start work on a replacement, and that starts with patient-centered care with an emphasis on lowering costs and affording more flexibility and choice for all Americans. The coming weeks and months will not be easy. We need to wean America off its dependence on debt, loose monetary policy, and government programs. And we must blaze a new trail rooted in long-term investment, strong businesses, innovation, entrepreneurship, and exports. We must remember that the strength of our republic resides not in a vast government safety net, but in the innovative spirit of our people. Not in our people's desire to take from the government, but in their drive towards self-sufficiency and controlling their own destiny. My pledge to you today is that we will act to restore America as the freest, most prosperous nation on earth. And we in Congress are going to count on groups like the Heritage Foundation to come forward with your best ideas to help us, to help our country do what it does best, to innovate, compete, and lead in this 21st century. No doubt about it, the stakes are very high, but we all must commit ourselves to do all we can to preserve and protect this country that we love, and that starts by committing ourselves to protecting and expanding freedom. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was really great. It's got a nice ring to it. They couldn't go to Congress. Representative Cantor has time for 2 or 3 questions. He has to go back to the Hill to vote. Who would like to go first? Yes, young lady right there.
Congressman, thank you. Thank you for your leadership on spending cuts. I'm just wondering if you'll support Congressman Jim Jordan's amendment for a true $100 billion worth of cuts in the CR debate?
Yes, we are. That is in reference to the CR debate, which will come to the floor February 14th. We announced yesterday, well in advance. The purpose of my announcing earlier is to make sure that all of our members on our side of the aisle, as well as others, have the ability to proffer their vision as to how we cut the deficit. We have instructed the budget chairman to hold us all accountable for spending levels. And we said that we want to be at least 2008 levels, as our party committed to during the election in the Pledge to America. And we said 2008 levels or less. And as you know, we are in the situation that we are in 5 months practically into the fiscal year because the former Democratic House failed to produce a budget. And so we have now found ourselves in a continuing resolution environment that has held constant 2010 levels. So we're looking to the appropriators to come up with their version of how we cut this budget. Again, they have the limit of saying 2008 or less. So let's see what they do. The reason why I am so insistent to say or less is because we all have to be very focused on making sure that we find new ways to cut spending and to do more with less. In response to your question, in that context, we are going to accomplish a $100 billion cut on an annualized basis.
Who else would like to ask a question? Yes, right there. A hand in the back.
Good morning, Congressman. James Reed, a reporter for WRGW News, the campus radio for George Washington University.
Good morning.
The President briefly spoke last night about the education sector, that he plans on making that a part of his initiative in the next year. As a university student, what Republican initiatives will the Republican majority in the House partake in? I know that Meg Whitman, the California gubernatorial candidate, said that the higher education in our country is the innovation engine, and I know you endorsed her, so I was hoping you would comment on that.
Right, and the President spoke about higher education, he spoke about secondary education, spoke about the need to increase access to college for American students, all of which are goals I think most Americans would support. The reality is we are spending billions and billions of dollars on all these areas. You take any program that exists in this town. First order of business and priority is to figure out why, if we're spending this kind of money, it's not working. The answer should not be to reflexively say just more money. So Republican proposals are going to be grounded in accountability. Is where are the dollars being spent? How is the administration promulgating regulations that may actually impede our ability to achieve the results the American people expect? So we are very focused on the role that the Republican majority plays in serving as a check on an unfettered agenda that we've seen over the last 2 years, and at the same time trying to promote a better future, which does mean continuing to strengthen our academic institutions in this country because, yes, we are the crucible of innovation here in the United States.
Thank you. Yes, right there. Last question. No, I said right there.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Samir Kapati with the Heritage Foundation. Leader Cantor, we've seen a miraculous change in the position from those on the left with regard to tax rates. It seems the President sees pro-growth economic policy tied to lower tax rates. We've seen this with the extension of the Bush-era tax cuts and more recently with his rhetoric during the State of the Union regarding corporate tax rates. Mr. Leader, have conservatives officially won this policy battle?
I wouldn't be so sure and rest on our laurels that we have won any battle. I would say if you remember, the tax package that passed in the lame duck session was one that had things in it that all of us, we didn't embrace all of it. We did say priority one is to make sure taxes didn't go up on anybody. We did accomplish that. We didn't accomplish any permanent reduction of rates. We didn't accomplish any permanent elimination of uncertainty. And what we want to focus on, and where we've not yet won the battle, is we want to focus on how to foster an environment where risk takers are willing and confident to go and put capital to work and grow jobs. Again, the reason why we have become the envy of the world is because here more than anywhere else, it is that innovation that is translated into people taking action, creating value, creating jobs and a better life. We've not yet done that because in the speech last night you heard, again, some rhetoric that may hint at the left's continued insistence that Washington should be about equal outcomes when we believe in equal opportunity. And I think that is a battle yet to be won. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you.